I am the last living cartoon, and I have the power! Well, I apparently don't have as much power as Masters of the Universe Revelation, a damn good revival of a beloved old property, and a pretty good show in its own right. Now, in a previous video of this loosely defined playlist I call the Last Living Cartoon, I covered the entirety of the She-Ra and the Princesses of Power animated series in a massive recap video that you can watch up here. I thought She-Ra was above average for the kind of thing it is. I mean, you had shows like Steven Universe and Star vs. the Forces of Evil around that time, so a female-led ensemble cast sort of action fantasy show was what the market was demanding at the time, and to be honest, I think it blew the competition out of the water. Like, I have harsh criticisms of Steven Universe that no one wants to hear anymore, and I thought Star vs. the Forces of Evil, from start to finish, always kind of slightly above average, a little shaky, and you know, I have no other controversial opinions on Star vs. the Forces of Evil, so we'll move right on. But yeah, I think Noelle Stevenson, you know, looked at all these other shows that were coming out, and they kind of had to walk so that She-Ra could run. She clearly cared a lot about this show and this genre, and as, you know, a magical girl show, fantasy show, good stuff, great stuff. This, though, Masters of the Universe Revelation, wowie zowie. Now this is my jam, baby. If I gotta be superficial, I just love the toyetic sensibilities of this show. It feels like all of these different characters that are from across the toy line and the Filmation era, they're here and each one of them, like, matters, you know? You give a damn about Merman. Yeah, Merman has like a good motivation. Like, the dialogue and the writing in this show is really solid. Like, they managed to pepper enough like silly puns and goofy gaffes in there that it feels a lot like the Filmation era tone. It's not like incredibly dour and it's not overly silly either. But in between that, you do feel like it's this same world, this same cartoony fun world that's just going through a particularly rough time and telling a story that has like a little bit of a tinge of darkness. The stakes are very high in this one, in the best way. Like, the first episode is just all complete fan service. You've got the forces of Snake Mountain teaming up to go fight this, like, to Castle Grayskull, which they finally, like, have the power to unlock the hidden wisdoms in there. Skeletor, like, defeats the sorceress of the castle. It is insane. And there's like, they use Faker in a really interesting way, like Faker He-Man. They even, like, well, obviously everybody knows this by now. I don't need to mark spoilers on this video, but at the end of the first episode, Prince Adam dies, and he goes out like such a badass too. He is holding the entirety of the universe's power between the two swords of Castle Grayskull, which is in itself a good reference to the original Castle Grayskull toy set where you had to put the things together and you unlock the door, and it's just cool, all right? They care. This is made by people who cared so much about the lore, and it's just obvious. There's just love for these characters, like bursting off of them in a rainbow formation, like when Adam transforms. It feels like that. Now, obviously, he dies, and he doesn't get to be the center of the show. But hey, the title is Masters of the Universe, and honestly, the rest of the cast, they full-on carry this. Now, Teela more or less ends up taking over as the main character, which is fair. She is one of the original 8 He-Man action figures, and they do a pretty decent arc with her. Now, I'm not oblivious to the fact that a bunch of people complained about her making her big proclamation in the throne room that, like, no, I'm out, you guys kept this secret from me, I'm upset, I'm leaving, and people just, do they not realize that this is how character development works? That her walking away from the king and queen and turning her back on her father who was just banished out of, like, fear and disgust and not wanting to accept Adam's death and grief, you know, do they not understand that that is her low point, that is her weakest moment, that is the moment that Teela needs to redeem herself for throughout this whole thing? Yes, sure, there's a theme that, like, you know, the secrecy of Prince Adam's secret did a lot of damage to her, but it's how she handles that needs to be adjusted, and that's the journey that she's on. Because in reality, it's the fear of death. The fear that, that when He-Man died, Adam went too. That she needs to get over. But, you know, why would I want to explain basic character arcs 101 to people who weren't being good faith about it in the first place? Overall, though, this theme of overcoming fear has always been central to the He-Man lore. If anyone out there hasn't seen the Toys That Made Us documentary on Netflix, the He-Man episode that tells the history of it, fundamental to, like, the origin of the original He-Man characters is that one of the creators saw a skeleton in a haunted house that freaked them out. They thought that was a real person. Oh my god. And from that spawned Skeletor. From fear, from childhood fear, but the ability to overcome that came the, like, strongest villain in the show. No, scratch that. Skeletor is one of the best villains in all of Western cartoon canon. He is awesome. I like him more than I like all of Masters of the Universe in general. And the fact that he is so powerful and so single-minded, and he tries to instill all this fear in others because fundamentally, as someone who is made of fear, who represents fear, he also has this fear of being weak. He needs to know everything, or have everything, or he has nothing. And I think this is exemplified very well in the Masters of the Universe live-action film, which don't watch it. It's awful. I rewatched it recently. It's bad. But Skeletor's great in it. He's the best part of it. The rest of the movie is essentially this collapsing, like, iron lung around him, just to try and keep him alive and let this incredible speech and incredible power echo through the screen. Like, it's great. It's good. 1 out of 10. But anyway, I'll stop fandom gushing about Skeletor, and I'll get back to fandom gushing about other parts of this show, like the fact that they made Orko and Cringer, of all characters, into, like, genuine cool guys? Like, Cringer has this whole incredible, like, one of the best speeches in the whole show, maybe the best speech in the whole show, to Teela about, like, where he got his name, about, like, what it means to be a little Cringer boy, and it's great. It's so solid. The voice acting's great, the animation's great, it's good. Then with Orko, I don't know how they did it. Like, Orko, always been annoying, terrible annoying. I'll take him over Gwildor or Fëanor, but that's about it. I know in some continuities he's actually really good at magic in his own universe, but no, look, on the face of it, Orko, his character concept is like a failure joke mage. He's a joke character, but he actually manages to be really cool in this, and his death scene, so much. Similar to the Prince Adam death scene, his death scene, like, it stuck with me. And it wasn't great because I wanted Orko to die. It was great because I didn't want Orko to die. Him and Evelyn also have, like, a great relationship. Evelyn had amazing character development in this, which ends in a really interesting way. It's kind of a cyclical sort of thing where she takes in all this information that, like, yeah, I gotta do some things altruistically. I gotta help people out. I gotta, like, you know, be a little bit less evil. Tries to turn over a new leaf, but then the status quo resets, and much like in one of these old cartoons, she's just like, hey, you know what? I've taken all of this into account, but fuck it. I'm still Evil Lyn. And I think that's really awesome and really true to the character. There's honestly not a single dull character in this, not a wasted beat of storytelling. And the amount of cameos they were allowed to bring in, like Stinkor, they got Stinkor into this. Oh, speaking of Stinkor, I'm starting to Stinkor right now. So hot in here. Jeez. All right, now I'm a master of the universe. Hit that, in the, oh my god. Oh, that looks terrible. I look terrible. Now here's the thing, I wouldn't be ranting and raving here, now totally shirtless about Masters of the Universe, if I didn't talk about the Master of the Universe, which is He-Man, who is utilized so well in this show. I know a lot of people said he dies in the first episode, but he's in every single episode. You get to see a He-Man action scene. Just because he's posthumous doesn't mean that, like, he's not in the show anymore. And Adam comes back, and you really get to like see like Prince Adam, the character, the fact that he's in this like paradise afterlife that he got for being He-Man, for being a champion, and he was with all these other people, including like Grayskull himself, but Adam, of all of them, chooses to be Prince Adam and not He-Man. And in a sense, that's like saying, look, He-Man is this powerful symbol. He is this strong force that stands in the way of evil. But it's also important that Prince Adam was the one behind He-Man, behind the muscle, behind the strength, was a boy with a beating heart, with strength, a sensitive man who loves and cares about all things and all people. And to be honest, I feel like that is a more powerful message than just having a strong man around. A strong man whose strength is used for the wrong purposes, to bludgeon and to berate and to oppress. That's not a strong man at all. A stronger man is the one who stands up to those who would harm those who could not defend themselves. That's what real power is. And that's what the Filmation cartoon tried to teach us over and over again. That we need to be more caring, more conscientious people who think about ourselves and our surroundings and use the power that we do have for good. And Prince Adam exemplifies that really, really well, which is why the sacrifice that he makes, the great personal sacrifice to go and to help and to continue the fight is so important, and why it's all the more tragic where the finale of this first part of this two-part series ends. I am so excited because it showcased everything about He-Man, everything about his strength, where it truly draws from, the goodness of Prince Adam, and how terrible a place the world would be without him, but also, I guess, how badass that Man of Arms and his daughter would be if he were gone. So, you know, world full of badasses, what are you gonna do? But they showcased his strengths, and they also showcased Skeletor's strengths. And where we left off now, fear and power and secrecy, that is winning over. And it's so cool, and I think that there should be the next part of this. I'm really excited to see it, and yeah, what can I say? Good show. Now, as for the people online, I know I addressed them a little bit, the group of people that always complains about stuff like this. You know, do we even need to dignify these people with a response? Really? Because, you know, something like this gets announced and they'll just be like, we don't care, you know, we don't care about this. Who would care about this? And then it becomes popular, it's well reviewed, and then they come out and they go, actually, we care immensely now. This is bad, this is perverting childhood, this is destroying, like, everything we know and love, and they're just saying these things. I mean, they said that, like, you know, Prince Adam dying in the first episode, oh, that's the marketing lying to the audience. That's them lying. And it's like, what, do you need a Wikipedia summary before you go into any story? Like, you need a Wikipedia summary of everything that happens in it so you can pre-okay it, so that you can preempt the obviously, like, huge emotional traumatic response that you have to these things, because you're that sensitive, because someone else who is smarter than you, more experienced than you, is playing with the action figures that you wish you could be playing with. And that's all well and good. You can play with the action figures any way you want in the basement, but grown-ups are in the room, they're talking, they're playing with the action figures, all right? And you're so caught up in this culture war that you've forgotten how to have fun. You've forgotten that this was something for kids. You've forgotten how to be a kid. But you still act like one in all the worst ways. The covetous, craven, worst ways that a kid behaves when their toys are taken away. And it turns out they're not even your toys to begin with. They're just something you want and demand. And if you don't have everything, you have nothing. And who does that sound like? The funniest part of all of this is that there's one of these guys who makes these sort of content. I'm not even gonna say his name here because he's like not worth even going to look up, but he dresses and looks and presents his video like he is a like knockoff Masters of the Universe like bit player villain. Like, of course this guy would be mad about Masters of the Universe and He-Man. Of course he would be mad about this story continuing and proliferating because like He-Man's gonna get his ass. Like, this is just one of Skeletor's minions minions pretending to be like a real ass dude in order to convince like the rest of us like He-Man's not cool anymore. Don't give like Kevin Smith any of your powers or any of your money. Don't let this continue to save like little like weak bitch supervillains like me who wouldn't be able to stand up to He-Man if he came up to me and said, I have the power, because he does and they don't. And they don't have cultural power, they don't have any kind of influence or power whatsoever, and it's just a bunch of stupid pageantry at the end of the day, right? It's not authentic, it's not creative, it's not productive, and what can I say? I'm a guy who just likes good and cool things, and that's what I'll continue to be. And they can buzz off. Anyway, I've been the Last Living Cartoon. I'm currently cooking live right now, and I will see you all in the near future.